If you're someone that's struggling to keep up with the repayments on your mortgage and you have concerns that possibly it's not going to get any easier, and even if you're in fear of possibly a repossession order on your property, then we've got some of the top 5 mistakes to avoid when it comes to being in this situation. First tip would be to not delay. If you can see that it's not going to get any easier for you, then it's better to be proactive in this situation and also to communicate with your lender so they know that you're doing everything you can to solve the problem. If you do find yourself in this situation, often it's better to get your property listed and on the market and hopefully offers underway whilst the lender is finding out that you're not able to keep up with your repayments. It gives them some comfort and closure that you are trying to resolve the situation. You also want to make sure that you get the price correct when you list the property. We understand when you sell a home, it's your best chance to get as much money as you can out of the asset. But we've seen people fall foul where they've advertised too high, sat on the market for a long time, and then unfortunately the pressure from the lenders got so much that they've unfortunately had to hand back the keys and go through the process of a repossession instead. You don't need to give the property away. You can get the best possible price by pricing it correctly, getting a good level of interest and achieving the best possible offer that way. You also need to make sure that you're aware of the timescales. Timescales to sell a property now in the UK are on average around 40 days. Sometimes in some areas they can be higher, and often we find locally to us they are less. But you need to be aware that it can take up to that timescale to agree a sale on the property. You've then got the conveyancing process, and depending on their situation in terms of whether they have a chain or not, you may well find that a sale can take as long as 3 months, 4 months or even 5 months in some situations. So if you are thinking ahead, you realise it's not going to get any easier for you and you're concerned about these costs, you need to be prepared that you're going to have possibly a 5-month process from listing your property to completing on it. Now, if we can get that down to 3 from sale agreed all the way through to completion, we're going to do everything that we can. We've got a service called Ready to Sell which helps with your paperwork. We help to get your solicitor's paperwork ready before you even sold your property. We've also got sales progressors in each office. So we have a dedicated sales progressor to ensure that once the sale's agreed, we can push it through in a timely fashion. And we're happy to communicate with the lender. If they need to have regular updates at the same time, we're happy to provide those on your behalf to take the pressure off you. We'd also recommend that you don't spend what you think you're going to sell the property for before you've actually completed on the sale. Your lender may have redemption penalties for coming out of the mortgage early. They might also have interest charges for missed payments. So you need to make sure that you know exactly what you're going to get from that sale before you start making plans and doing anything with the money before it's landed in your bank account. And also, finally, the mistake, personal one for me and one that you should consider, is don't give up on your credit history. It's really important to have a good credit history, and just by getting rid of the problem, by giving the keys back to the lender, it has a negative impact on your position then if you want to rent in the future, if you want to buy in the future. So do everything you can to control your own credit history, get the property sale through in a timely fashion. Let's get that lender covered off and paid, and then we can get you into rented accommodation, or if you do have the money and you're available to do so, you may well look to buy but a smaller house with a lower repayment that's more affordable. We hope that's really of assistance for you. We know what you're going through. We've gone through the process with a number of clients over the years, and we know how to help you. Now, we're hoping once you've gone through this process and the sale has completed, that actually you're going to feel a lot less stress and less pressure put on you. It is going to be a hard process to go through, walking away from a property that you probably don't really want to sell, but it is definitely in your best interest. And if you can sleep at night and you feel less stress, it will be worth it. We also hope we can help you find the next home. Now, if you are in a position where you're going to complete on a sale of your property and you're going to have a lump sum remaining after the mortgage is paid off, you'll have equity there. So if you want to go and rent a property, you may consider looking to pay rent for 6 months up front. That's something that a lot of landlords are appreciative of, and it'll give you a chance to get back on your feet, get into new employment if that's been the issue, and get yourself set. As long as the landlord receives the money for the next 6 months, then they're in a happy situation. We'll also want to be there for you in the future, because this isn't going to be forever. You are going to look to possibly move on again, and you're going to want to possibly get back on the ladder. We're sure that that's what you're going to look to do. 64% of the UK population owns a home, so we know you're probably going to want to be back on that ladder if that's the case for you. We hope you've retained a better credit history and a better credit score. We know obviously everything you would have gone through won't have been easy, but if you can come out of it the other side with a better credit history than if you just chucked the keys back, then that is a win for you. And finally, we hope you haven't sacrificed space. Sometimes when you sell your property that's cost you a fortune every calendar month, you can move yourself into a different location, get something even slightly larger. You might find that the next property is actually in a better position for you, and if you were renting it instead of purchasing it, you've got the flexibility to possibly move again then when the timing's right. So we know it's going to be stressful. We appreciate there's going to be strain if you do decide to sell your property because you're worried about the repayments or any of the circumstances that come with losing a job. But we're there for you, we can assist with it, and we can definitely get you through to the other end.